I'm joined in by Indu Lakshmi. She is a filmmaker, a writer from the Malayalam film industry, and she's also somebody who's faced ordeal of harassment, and she's here to share that ordeal with us. Ma'am, before we get to your story, ma'am, firstly, I want to ask you, it's been 10 days since the HEMA committee report is out, and the changes that we're seeing in the industry, the resignations, people coming out and talking, a whole storm has been erupted in the Kerala. How do you see these changes that are happening, or your thoughts on that first?
Yeah, it has been wonderful because after 5 years, the government has finally decided to publish the HEMA committee report, and it has triggered a lot of conversations and discussions in the industry. And I strongly believe that it will result into some kind of a cleansing activity in the industry, and we'll have some process streamlined, which will help to make the experience better here in working conditions better here in the industry.
Ma'am, were the work conditions really that bad that a committee had to be set up, a report had to be come out? If you can explain us a few of your experiences.
Yeah, a lot of these issues are applicable to all the industries in India, but it is only after a group of women formed WCC, Women in Cinema Collective, and it was relentless effort of them which resulted in this report. A lot of these issues were, I mean, like I said before, it is existing in other industries, because I've heard about the toilet issue, because we don't get caravan, not all of them, not, I mean, probably the top actress might get, but a lot of other people who work with the movie, maybe associates or assistants, might not get access to toilets. So those kind of issues are there in all the industries, but it is just that in Kerala, it has become a movement. And after the assault of prominent actor in Malayalam, and that is the point where a lot of discussions began. And it would probably be the starting point where the Women Cinema Collective was formed, and there was necessity to bring to light a lot of bigger names and a lot of bad practices which were existing in the industry. As far as I understand, it was that unfortunate incident which triggered a lot of discussions, and it resulted in HEMA committee report.
You're
There was
talking.
an investigation. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am. You're saying something.
Yeah, so based on the petition of WCC, there was a committee, HEMA committee, which was appointed by the government of Kerala to look into the issues, to talk to the survivors, to talk to different cross sections of people who worked in the industry, and to find out what is actually wrong, and to understand what are the various domains where the attention needs to go. But it was, I mean, after it was completed 5 years ago, but due to the sensitivity of the issue, it had to wait for 5 years until it could be published.
Ma'am, you talked about how big names are there in the industry who are part of this thing. Ma'am, today also a few big names resigned, keeping in mind how the report has affected the industry. Mohanlal resigned. So how do you see this development, and how big is it, the resignation of Mohanlal? That does it open the veil of things? Is this really exposing what we are actually trying to expose?
The mass resignation, I would say, is definitely an impact of HEMA committee report. But to answer about the names and why they have resigned, we need to wait, because nobody has the answer. Nobody has responded to that yet. From what I understand, they have taken a stand that it is their collective responsibility, and it is very important to step down from office-bearing roles to understand and to go through the process, is what I understood. And I don't think they have responded individually. They have not responded, but it definitely is an impact of HEMA committee report.
But ma'am, you are also somebody who's faced harassment, and the committee report also talks about such kind of harassment, who people who are technicians, writers, filmmakers also face. It's not just the sexual harassment that happens, it's also work-based harassment also that we're talking about. So if you could share with us what had actually happened with you.
For me, like as I said, my first movie was produced by the government of Kerala under the program of Women Cinema. So it was a government-funded program which was supposed to be handled by the Kerala State Film Development Corporation, which is KSFDC. And the chairman of KSFDC is a very renowned filmmaker and cinematographer. His name is Shaji N Karun. So me, along with the other directors, the script underwent a lot of steps of evaluation, almost a year of evaluation, where a lot of prominent script writers were involved at various phases of the evaluation. After which our scripts were chosen and handed over to the government for production. But what happened was that after it went to KSFDC, we faced. I mean, it was a very black and white kind of a gender discrimination, and we almost on an everyday basis, instead of facilitating the production of the movie, they were blocking it. They were not giving us approvals, and they were finding very silly reasons not to approve the procedure for the movie. And we definitely had a contract with the government, and they were not letting us adhere to the timeline. So it was a trauma which was given to us by KSFDC chairman Shaji N Karun and his team. And constantly, every time we were reminded that we are incapable of doing that, definitely because we are women, and that we will not be able to complete without the help of men. We were reminded about it constantly. We had problems with the fund. A lot of money had to be spent from our pocket to complete the movie, although 1.5 crores was allocated to it. And when we asked about the fund distribution, we faced several more severe issues, like our movie was not. Yeah.
You said 1.5 crore was the budget. Did you at least get that much amount?
No, actually, it was channelized through KSFDC through with the help of a line producer.
Sure.
So it was not that 1.5 crore was given to us and we spend it. They were basically facilitating it, and I could understand that it was not done properly. When I spoke about it, I had to face a lot of issues. And my problem in this context is that Shaji and Karun, I mean, he is going to head the conclave, which is the government's proposal of resolution of the Hema Committee report. So constantly, in all the conversations with Shaji and Karun during my 1.5 years of production of Nila, I was constantly reminded about how useless women are and how much that women, being a woman, I should be submissive and I should show gratitude. And I was constantly bullied and constantly reminded that none of us deserve to do the movie. And because we have already started it and we had to finish it. So it was a very difficult journey for me. And we really don't have the evidence of the trauma that we went through, but we are all from different backgrounds. Like the four directors who were chosen for the movie, we have not met before, but the journey was pretty much the same. The trauma, the kind of mental abuse, the questioning of our integrity and dignity, that was common to all of us. And it was very difficult for us to complete the movie and even to get the movie released. So even yesterday, when Shaji and Karun spoke to the media, the word that he used was that it is a middle class mentality. So such a person is going to head the conclave for a solution of HEMA committee reports issues, and he's also heading the new cinema policy
Conclave.
Yeah, yeah, conclave, and he's also the one who is going to head the new cinema policy formation. So there was an interview yesterday with him, and I mean, I can send it to you. It doesn't make any sense to me, and he has repeatedly used the terms like middle class mentality and lack of culture the common people, which is the reason for all the abuses happening, is this finding of whatever is happening around, and of all the findings of HEMA committee report. This is his response. And I strongly believe that such a person will not be able to sensitively handle the issues which are brought to light, because it took a long journey, so many years for the women to fight and to have the HEMA committee formed, and to have this conversation after 5 years of findings. This was actually all the findings which we are talking about has been found 5 years ago. So it took a long time, and to have such a person, very sensitive, insensitive person like Shaji N Karun on the top of the pyramid is not good. And I'll add one more thing. I have written multiple complaints. Me and other filmmakers have written multiple complaints to the cultural minister of Kerala. But the response which we received was that since Shaji N Karun is a prominent filmmaker, nothing can be done, and it is the same card that is being played.
Ma'am, before we get to Shaji and Karun, I want to complete your story. How long did it take for you to complete your film because of the problems that you were facing? And if those problems were not there, how long would you have been able to finish your movie?
Yeah, so basically, the journey started in 2022 January. Um, we got some pre-production, but it was, I mean, we managed to start the project after a lot of issues, and it took 22 days for the shoot to be completed. And after the shoot, we were not allowed to edit the movie, and KSFDC was kind of, especially the film officer who was in charge of directly dealing with us, he was not allowing us to edit the movie, saying that it has to be edited in Chitranjali studio. And in Chitranjali studio, the situation is that the mouse doesn't work, the keyboard doesn't work, and they didn't have any software which was required for the editing of a movie. So it is literally not possible. And this is something which, being a great filmmaker, Shaji N Karun, the chairman of KSFDC, and filmmaker who was also a director, is aware of it. But this is kind of like a brutal ragging. They said, you have to bring all the footage to the Chitranjali studio, and we didn't have a choice. We had to do that. And I had to wait for about 5 to 6 weeks after the movie was completed, after the shooting was completed. Every day, fighting with them, every day requesting them, going to them, waiting for them. Basically, like, they ask us to meet at 11 o'clock, and they make us wait for hours and hours. So that was kind of like a ragging. Um, we were not allowed to edit. And every phase, every stage of the movie, dubbing, they gave me problem. They were canceling the studio because it needed their approval for the studio to be blocked. So at every stage, they tried to delay it. And it took about 1.5 years for me to complete it. And if everything went well, I would say within 3 months, the movie could have been completed, easily completed.
So it took you 1.5 years to finish a movie that you could have done in 3 months just because of the
3
harassment
months.
that you were facing
Exactly.
by Shaji and
Exactly.
Karun.
Yes. Exactly. And the film officer, because see, my movie is it's a very simple thread. It doesn't have so much of location shifts, or it didn't require so much of VFX or anything like that. It was a very simple narration, because I knew the budget was 1.5 crores. I wrote the script accordingly. So I could have easily finished it in one and a half.
The 1.5
I
minute
mean,
film.
no. It is 95 minutes in
95
cinema.
minutes.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, it took me 1.5 years
Okay.
because of the delay that was induced into the system by the set of people, because they said, if you are a first time filmmaker, you have to suffer, is what they continuously kept saying that. And the movie turned out to be, yes.
Yeah,
Tell
go
me.
ahead, finish it.
Yeah, I had to fight for the movie's release, and I had to write to multiple people, to the Minister of Cultural Affairs, multiple times to get an order to release the movie. And the movie was not released because it was kind of like, okay, why do you want to get the movie released? that kind of an attitude. We are not here to release your movie. You wait. You're a first-time filmmaker. You have to suffer. You have to go through a lot of difficulties to be able to complete your movie. But I mean, why do you want difficulties to be induced? I mean, that was not the purpose of the project. That was not the purpose of the whole initiative of the so-called women empowerment. We were not given enough finance at various points of the project, and because the work had to go on, I had to find my own sources of money, and to ensure that the movie doesn't suffer, because it is my first movie. I didn't want it to be blocked. I didn't want it to suffer. So I had to spend a lot of lakhs. And when I raised that issue to KSFDC, uh, they were kind of like acting as if I'm talking Chinese. They were giving a very deaf ear, laughing, smirking, and telling me that, first time filmmakers go through all these
Ma'am,
trauma, is what they said.
the report talks about a certain thing called there is a mafia in the industry.
Yeah.
When the report comes out exposing such things, and now when you talk about how Shaji N Karun did this with you during this thing, and now he's been made as somebody who's going to facilitate the entire HEMA committee report with all the actors and actors. How do you see that? Because you believe that mafia is still working somewhere or the other.
There is unconditional and illogical respect and, you know, reverence that is given to a couple of people definitely in the industry. And I really don't know the inside out of it, because I'm relatively new and my experience is what I can tell you about. Shaji and Karun did not send Nila, my movie, to any of the festivals. And to some of the festivals which they told that my movie was sent to, I could know from various reliable sources that there were interferences to pull it out. The jury had not seen my movie. And it is one of the best performances of the person who acted as my main character. It's a female role. It is Shanti Krishna. She is a very popular South Indian actor. Uh, and she herself and everyone who watched the movie says that it is one of the best performances of the actor. And it's not an easy to carry out role. But it was made sure that the movie remained buried, and it definitely has the hands of Shaji and Karun. And even today, when he is talking about women's cinema, it has a lot of contempt in his. There is a lot of contempt in his voice. A lot of see, we exist. I mean, just because we are women, it doesn't mean that we don't have a professional background. It doesn't mean that we're not educated. I do have about 10 years of corporate background. I have worked in different industries, so it is not that I'm born into case of easy and I'm beginning my life at this age. No. So he made sure that movie didn't go anywhere, and that definitely is an interference. And I was, how can we question his decisions? What they say.
So now that he has been named and now this is happening, your last thoughts before I let you go, ma'am. What would you like to tell those who will be deposing in front of him and who will be sitting with Shajul Karun and speaking about the reforms? What would you tell them?
Um, See, my only concern is that this is a one-time opportunity for the entire industry to be heard of whatever wrong is happening, and for any corrective measures to be taken. And we don't get these kind of opportunities every time. Uh, just because of the fact that it took 5 years for the report to come out, you can probably understand uh, the the involvement of government, I would say, in protecting the names. And even now, the names of the offenders are not out. They are being protected because it is a very sensitive matter. So let that be. That is not my concern. But somebody who has to take a decision, somebody who has to make a corrective action, has to be a sensible person. And it is not there in a state like Kerala, where there are so many prominent people with clean image and clean behavior and clean thoughts, and people who really walk their talk are there. It is not that we don't have people and we don't have prominent figures in the industry. This needs to be rechecked because it is about the basic needs of people, from the basic needs of people working for about 80 to 20 hours per day that we are talking about. And it's a very historical moment, and it is a very historical movement that we are witnessing, and it has to be done with more sensitivity and sensibility is what I feel. And I would just like to add one more thing about Shaji and Karun, because the toilet issue which had come up in the report, this was discussed during the time of Nila, and he has insulted that request, saying that from in the 70s and 80s, women used to change their clothes in open air behind trees. And why are you asking me this now? Is the question he asked me. So such a man of, I don't know, insensitive person, I do not know how he will be able to take the findings of the report and will be able to give a resolution, because we are looking for solution and we will not have another opportunity. And this needs to be taken seriously. Instead of pleasing men just because they are prominent filmmakers or whatever, your professional side is one thing, and your other it is your professional. I mean, there are a lot of great men, understood. You might be a good engineer, you might be a good doctor, you might be a good singer. That's your professional excellence. Well and good, nobody's questioning that. But if you do not have the basic sensibility and sensitivity, I think these names should not be at least entrusted with decision making roles in the decision making roles, is what I have to say.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, ma'am. We hope we are able to put your message across to the people and highlight the issues that you have faced and the audios that you have faced. And we hope that at least you coming out and speaking to us about this particular gentleman, things might change, and the opportunity that you believe that the industry has got to change and make reforms happens. Thank you so much for speaking to us, ma'am. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.